All right, so let's ground ourselves. So, whether you like to have your eyes open or your eyes closed, whatever works for you, you can place your hands somewhere on your body, maybe on your heart or maybe on your head or on your thighs, somewhere where you feel like you might need a little grounding, a little support. And just take a moment to drop your awareness down into your body. Come into that sacred pause where we allow the brain to turn inward to the body and let the body take the voice of what's happening. As you feel yourself coming home to presence, let's begin to awaken the beautiful breath that we have. So you can move your hands at any time you want to anywhere else on your body. And let's feel in, if you were here with me yesterday, a lot of that work we did with the loosening the space for breath. Let's feel into where breath lives in our body. See if you can notice the inhales, the exhales, the pauses in between. And don't be alarmed if your breath is a little wackadoo. If you feel like you can't regulate your breath or it's choppy or quick or high, don't stress, just notice. And do what you can to coax the breath into a little bit more ease, a little bit more length, a little bit more space. And on your exhale, see if you can feel all the muscles along your neck and your shoulders just soften completely. So the ways we kind of hold our shoulders up and forward, let's see if we can relax. And once you have that feeling of surrender, maybe bobble your head just a little bit. Make sure you're feeling a little looser. And then lift the heart into that soft space. Let's place the hands together at the heart and offer an intention. Feel the centering mudra, what it does for the centering of the mind, centering of the body, centering of the heart. And let's place this intention, what we want to offer the day, what we need from the day, what we're cultivating. Relax the hands. And let's find our way onto our back. Right. So as you stretch out and lengthen in your body, it's such a beautiful thing to start the practice horizontal. So let's enjoy kind of coming into this space where our body can lie down. So stretch out and lengthen here. You feel that full arm stretch, arms overhead. And let's stretch one way and then the other is feeling the right side of your body and the left side of your body coming into that beautiful open space. And then for just a moment, after we find that deep reach, let's take our hands out to the sides like cactus arms. And maybe your hands reach the floor and maybe you don't. And this can be very diagnostic for how your shoulders are feeling at any moment. So just see what it feels like to drop your shoulders down, to drop your arms down, to drop your legs. Take a breath, an intentional breath into that open heart. Stretch your arms overhead one more time and feel that reach in the body, the right side, the left side. And then draw your knees into the chest and give yourself a little hug. Rocking a little bit, swaying from side to side. All right, let's circle the knees, kind of rolling in one direction. And rolling in another direction. And moving in a third direction, knees coming apart and bringing them back in. All right, and then let's hang out there with our knees out to the sides, kind of like frog pose, but we're on our back. So allow, you can hold on to the inner knees, and just like we just let our shoulders kind of fall open, let's see if we can do the same for our hips. You can hang on to your knees and just let them stretch open. And feel free to draw your knees a little closer toward your torso, a little further away. Find your sweet spot. And then melt your head down. And notice here if one side is a little more free than the other, if you feel as if you're listing to one side or the other. And then relax and return those knees back in toward your chest. Give them a good hug and rock a little bit, knees together, side, side. All right, right knee into your chest, left leg long on the ground, and let's feel into some movement of your feet, wiggling your toes and feeling that good stretch, good awakening in your ankles. Feel a good squeeze of the knee, give it a good hug. Then let's hang on to the knee with the left hand, and we're going to cross it over to a twist. Don't go super far, just find the sweet spot for your body. Let your right arm open up out to the side, maybe turn your head to the right. Breathing deeply. And then draw your knee back in toward your chest. And let's go ahead and switch sides. Left knee coming in, right leg long on the ground. Give it a good squeeze. Move around your ankles again, feeling that freedom through your calves and your shins and your ankles and your toes. Good squeeze of that knee. Feel your head rest down. And let's take the twist on this side. Cross the left leg over to the right. Open up your left arm, turn and gaze over your left arm. Find just the right amount of twist for you. You don't have to go super far. Full breath here. Feel your chest expand, open up across your heart space. And then coming back, bring that knee into your chest, giving it a good hug. And then stretch out like a star on the ground, feeling that reach of your arms and your legs. Exhale, draw the knees into the chest. Give yourself a nice hug. One more time, feeling that big open body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And on your exhale, draw it in, knees to your chest. And then relax your head down. We're going to just wake up our hips a little bit, move a little into our hips today. So right thigh over left thigh, draw your knees in toward your chest. And at first, just keep your hands on your knees and just notice what you feel. Sit bones dropping down, wide sit bones. Feel your head and shoulders melt as best as you can. And then if it's available to your body, inch your hands down your shins a little bit. You might even end up holding your feet. So don't go too far. Just be where your body wants you to be. And just feel that little bit more of an awakening through those lateral rotating muscles of your pelvis. All right, then unwind that. Bring your arms overhead and your legs straight up in the air. Of course, your arms can be down at your sides if that's better for your shoulders or for your ability to support your legs in the air. All right, let's flex and point our feet while they're up there. Feel your core start to engage. Let's take our legs a little wider apart, coming into a V shape. Lengthen through your spine. We're going to bring our arms through our legs now. Draw in and up as you exhale. And then release your head down. Twice more. Exhaling to draw your arms through your legs, lifting your torso a bit. Coming back onto the ground. We're going to bring our legs down. Hold on to your feet. Happy baby pose. Relax your spine a little bit. A bit of rocking might feel good. We're gonna lift the legs straight up in the air again. Arms can be down at your sides or over your head. Feel the stability of your core, and we're gonna slowly lower your legs down toward the ground. Once you have met the ground, melt everything. Drop all your bones for a moment. Have a breath. And then bend your knees again. And this time we're going to take the left thigh over the right thigh and draw your knees toward your chest. Heavy head, relaxed shoulders. Drop your sit bones. Widen your sit bones. Feel that good stretch beginning in your hip. Now this might be where you stay, or maybe your hands kind of walk down your legs a little bit and you change the angle of your femur bones and the hip joints by holding your legs differently. Heavy head and shoulders, breathe well. Relax that. One more time, arms overhead, legs straight up in the air. Slowly, slowly lower your legs down, and your arms can be down at your sides if you need them to be for core support. Relax once you get on the ground. Just let your whole body melt. And then one last star on the ground, stretching your body out. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Know where your edges are. Draw your knees into your chest. And then roll to your side and come up to your hands and your knees. All right, as you come onto all fours, let's enjoy such a beautiful thing to just find some cat-cows. So we're arching and rounding the spine, taking your time, noticing how your body wants to move. And after a few rounds of cat-cows, start to move your spine any way you want to move your spine. You can wiggle your tail, you can move around in circles or spirals or none of the above, and just find any kind of movement that feels really good, awakening, freeing in your body. All right, so find once you're kind of settled into what feels good in your body. We're going to focus on the pelvis a little bit here. So on all fours, nice neutral spine. We're going to imagine that the tailbone has a paintbrush that faces the wall. The tip of the paintbrush faces the wall behind you. And try to draw some big circles one direction on the wall behind you, letting your low back loosen up a little bit, your hips, your pelvis. And a few rounds the other direction. How's your breath? Almost stretch back towards child's pose and walk the hands forward. Inching up, feel the dropping of your sit bones. Take a deep breath, open up through the shoulders. Let's walk the hands over to one side or the other so we find that full side body awakening. Now, of course, we kind of feel it in our shoulder, but let the sensation travel all the way down to your hip. Breathe well. All right, come back, go the other way. Sending your arms to the other side, drop your sit bones, feel that stretch, not just in your shoulder, but trace down your ribs into your side waist, all the way to your sit bone. Coming back up, feeling into that sense of neutral spine again. All right, breathing deeply. A little bit of a cat-cow again if it feels nice to do so. Then we're going to grab a block, okay, and put the block between your shins on the ground so that you can hug the block with your shins. I'm just going to do some gentle pelvic floor waking here to help us stabilize our pelvis. So as we move into cat-cows, when you arch your back and lift your tail, relax your shins against the block And as you round your spine and drop your tail, hug the shins against the block so that we're trying not to do just a butt squeeze, but really the pelvic floor starts to engage. All right, so just moving back and forth between some cat cows where we relax the pelvis as we anterior tilt the pelvis, and as we posterior tilt, hug that block to just help us slightly turn on those deep pelvic floor muscles. We're going to keep the block right where it's at, and then we're going to lift up into dog pose. So lengthen through your spine. A little bit different. I know we can't pedal our feet and warm up the way we normally do. So just be aware that you're kind of stuck here in this pose a bit because of the block. And let's see if we can gently isometrically drag your feet apart. So we wake up the outer hip line and then gently hug the block against your shins. So you can feel the dynamic nature of both the inseam of the legs and the outseam. Yield and breathe. And then let's remove the block for a bit and walk your feet forward. Come to Uttanasana. And so folding deeply, let your neck relax, your shoulders, your hips. Everything's soft and loose. And find your way to a halfway lift, lengthening the spine, feeling that freedom. Now let's pedal your feet just like we often do in dog pose. Bend one knee and let the other heel drop down. Bend the other knee and let the other heel drop down. And just kind of back and forth pedaling your feet. Waking up the bottom of your feet, spreading your toes wide, feeling that zing all the way up to your hip. Let's accentuate the hip movement now. Draw, as your heel drops down, draw that hip way back as you bend the other knee. So you're kind of turning the pelvis just a little bit. You might even find your knee kind of drawing in toward the midline, and that's okay. Back and forth. All right, and then relax that. Soften, melt your head. Let's rise all the way up. Bring the arms to the sky, feeling that length and space in your body. Open up through your heart, feeling as broad and open as you can find. Let's cactus open the arms, feeling the heart expand here. Squeeze the back body a little bit and reach those arms up again. And exhale and swan dive forward, fold. Relax your pelvis, soften your skull. Inhale for a halfway lift, grow and lengthen the body. And exhale and melt again. Let's step our left foot back, coming into a lunge, right foot's in front, extending through the spine, opening up the heart. Let's drop our back knee onto the ground just so we can find a big hip flexor opening through the front of that leg. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. And then let's start to move as we usually do. Lift that knee off the ground and go ahead and start bending and straightening the front knee. So remember, even as we're starting to feel, things open up and warm up in the body, remember to be guided by your breath as best as you can. Keep your awareness on that steady rhythm of the breath. And then pause with your legs straight for a moment. Have the blocks available so that you know you're high enough to support the length of your spine. Squaring the hips, lengthening your heart forward. Let's pick up your toes and keep your front heel down. Square up the hips. And then place that foot back down onto the ground. Rise up, crescent lunge when you feel ready. The arms coming upward to the sky. Feeling the heart expand and open here. Maybe you want to lean back. Maybe you want a different position with your arms. Just find the freedom of your practice. And then release your hands down. Hop up onto your right foot. Let's start to get some strength built up in these outer hip muscles. Come up onto your toes and down onto your heel and up onto your toes, down onto your heel, kind of warming the calf. And then find your heel and feel the groundedness. Now lift your right hip up, extend through the left leg, find your breath. We're going to slowly pass that left knee forward, come up to stand, a little bit of a tricky transition to lift that knee all the way up in the air. Feel the standing hips support you, reach the arms up, feeling that extension in the body. Let's twist to the left. Arms stretched out, heart open. And then we're going to come back right out through the way we came. Arms come up and bring your hands down onto the blocks, half splits. Step back, crescent lunge. One more time, reaching the arms high. Hand comes down onto the ground. Step back to dog pose. Imagine that block is still there, even though it's not, so that we have a sense of being able to both engage through the pelvis and the inner legs, but also the outer legs. So drag your feet apart from each other. Keep all that alive as you come forward into a plank. Now, if you can't support your body weight on your shoulders like me, then put your knees down. But if you can be in a plank, keep your knees off the ground. Shoulders away from the ears. Feel the heart expand. Engage through your center body. Feel your pelvic floor and your core support you. Breathing well. Let's find our way down to the ground. A couple of shoulder rolls here. Inhale, cobra pose. Find your breath. Full exhale to melt back down. Take a second to try, and you can change your position with your arms or however you want to open up through the front body. And then relax and melt. Come up on tall fours. Move your spine around. Release the back bend, maybe dropping your hips over to one side far, and then over to the other side far. Curl your toes under, lift to dog pose. Feeling that extension and length. Breathe well. We're going to pass our left foot through to come into the front. Extend through your spine. Let's go ahead and drop your back knee down onto the ground. Open up through your heart. Maybe your handstand blocks, maybe they come up to your knees. Just feel those hip flexors open. Breathing well. Hands come back down onto the block. Lift your knee off the ground. Begin to bend and straighten the knee, finding your passage through these two poses. Move with your breath. Let's pause here with your legs straight and lift your toes up off the ground. Feel your hip reach back, maybe bow your head. And then place that foot back down onto the ground. Ground your legs. Inhale, coming up, crescent lunge, reaching the arms up to the sky, feeling that extension. Maybe you want to cactus, open the arms. Maybe that feels good in your body. Maybe you want your arms out to the side. So whatever feels really good. Round through your legs. And let's start to find that half splits. Hands on blocks, climb up, extending through your spine. Feel that leg in the air, reach back, and let's come up onto your toes and back down onto your heel. Move slow, feel your breath. All right, now here comes this tricky transition. So from this grounded place of your heel down onto the ground, we're going to slowly bend that right knee, come up to stand, use the work of your hip to get there. We're going to find our way, lifting your knee in the air. Arms come up, extend. Let's twist to the side. Feel the work of your legs warming up all of that strength in your outer hip. Drop the shoulders. And then reach the arms back up in the air. We're gonna pass through, hands on the blocks for half splits. Find your breath. And then we're gonna take a big giant step back into crescent lunge, arms lifting to the sky. Feel that extension and openness. And then hands come down onto the ground, find dog pose. Extending and lengthening through your body, breathing well. Forward into a plank again. Hold yourself firm and steady on the ground. Find your breath. And let's lower your body down. Roll the shoulders a couple of times. Let's take your arms down at your sides, palms facing the ground. Take your legs a little wider apart so you can feel your outer toes touch the outer mat. Take a deep breath in and lift everything up, arms and legs, feeling your heart open up and the work of your pelvis. So hug on to the bones. Relax, melt that back down, come up onto all fours and relax your spine. Maybe have the hips sway again, maybe some wiggles or some circles, maybe a child's pose. Finding breath. Find your way to dog pose again when you're ready. Feeling that full body extension. Return to your breathing as best as you can. Feel your way into that long, spacious spine. The full deep breath, head bow. And when you're ready, Uttanasana. Fold deeply here. Wag your tail. When you're ready, we'll climb all the way up. Bringing the arms to the sky, maybe a cactus arms again. And then relax your hands down. Pause here for a moment. Just feel how you feel. How are you doing? How's your breath? How's your sense of centering into your practice? Take a moment to notice if your mind is, traveling somewhere and you need to harness it back. Take your feet to the edges of the mat, and we're going to find our way into a squat. You can turn your toes out a little bit or straight, whichever feels best for your knees and your hips. Elbows inside your knees, finding breathing. Draw your femur bones back into your hips. Drop weight into the four corners of your feet. And now we're going to make a path. Arms either stretched behind you. Arms can be out to the sides, or your arms can be overhead. So find the pathway for you for right now. Heads of the arm bones, if your arms are back, heads of the arm bones lift. Whatever you're doing, your ribs are knitting into your body. And stand all the way up. Now, sometimes standing can make you a little dizzy when you've been down in a squat. So take your time to just let your equilibrium happen, get your blood pressure back to a stable place. Okay. Then we're going to turn sideways on our mat and take our legs wider. This time, turn your toes out. You don't want to have them turned straight for this one. Same pose, but wider legs, elbows inside your knees. So we're opening up our inner thighs a little bit, and just notice if you have, it's typical to have one hip that's a little bit more enjoyable in a pose like this than the other. Maybe rock a little bit, bearing weight into one foot and then the other. Dropping your hips down, try to get them in line with your knees. All the way up to stand. Standing star, big wide arms. Raise your hands together at your heart. Pause here for a moment. Get your equilibrium. If squatting and standing makes you a little vulnerable to blood pressure change, just take a moment to find your equilibrium. Then we're gonna turn the right foot out. Virabhadrasana 2. Let's move with this. Arms coming up. Take a breath. Exhale. Come into Virabhadrasana 2. And then you can either bring your arms up or in toward your heart, straighten your leg. Vira 2. One last time. Finding that inhale, drawing up or in with your hands. And now we'll stay. Drop the shoulders. So you want your knee to not go past, it can be before your ankle, but try not to let it go past your ankle. Soften your shoulders down. Make sure you're very connected with this back leg. Take your femur bone back. Feel the groundedness of your heel. Open up through your heart. Keep relaxing your shoulders. Gaze out over your middle finger. Feel that grounding of your legs. How's the fullness of your breath here? Reverse the warrior now. Reaching that arm up, feel that stretch through the side of your body. Straighten your leg and tip over into triangle pose. You can use a block. Ground into both legs. That back heel needs to root and center itself into the ground. Drop your shoulders away from the ears. Finding breath. All right, let's come back up. Find that neutral place again. You can bring your block to the other side. We're going to do the same poses over there. So as you turn your left foot out, see if you can reorient. And everybody has some dominance, have like a preference for doing standing poses, perhaps on one side versus the other. So if that is the case for you, let's invite both sides evenly. Okay, so try to find that same level of presence and space, arms coming up, and then exhale, coming into Vira 2. Either arms up or bring your hands into your heart, straighten your leg, and come into Virabhadrasana 2. One more time. Breathing in, gather toward the center. Exhale, come into Virabhadrasana and stay here. Shoulders drop down. Stretch from your heart to your fingertips. Make that big long line. Gaze out over your fingers. Knit your ribs in. Descend the tail. Try to track your knee in line with your middle toes. Finding breath. Can you hug your knees into your hips a little bit? Can you hug your feet toward each other? So light up some of those underside muscles as well. Breathing deeply. Reverse the warrior, lift that arm up in the air and feel the extension in your body. Full breaths here. And then straighten your leg and find your way to triangle pose. Hand can lightly rest on the block or your leg. Other arm in the air. Feel that dropping of the shoulders away from the ears. Let that descending feeling travel all the way to your tail. That travels all the way to your back heel. Stay rooted through the front big toe. Try to find that your core and pelvic floor are a little supported in this pose. You're not just falling into your hips. Root through your legs. How's your breath? I'm going to come all the way back up. Turn your feet slightly turned out. You can hold a block in your hands if you want to for this, or you can be free in your hands. Most of you have done this before with me. We're going to do a big spiral up. Okay, so we're going to move into our right foot, transfer across the body, and bring the arms up overhead, like And so if you're holding a block, you can take that block on the journey with you. So if bringing your arm up is hard, like it is for me, you can, have the passage of your arms be in a much more shorter range, closer to the center of your body. But what I want you to really focus on is getting into the legs, drop into the knee, cross over to the other side, push up and lengthen through your spine, regardless of what your arms are doing. How's your breath? Can you feel that transfer of weight into one side, across the body, into the other? I'm going to pause at the top. You can have your arms overhead or hands to your heart like me. Find your breathing. And we'll go the other way. So we're going to transfer over to the left and then swing the weight over to the right and back up again. Okay, so be mindful of your knees and where they're tracking. Try to keep them in line with the feet instead of caving in. Have big arm swings, or if your shoulder's bothering you, you can take small swings of your arms. Gather your strength into your legs, push off, and then receive again. How's your pelvic floor and your core supporting this? How is your breath supporting this? After your next pass through, we'll pause at the top again. Finding breath. And then we're going to come into goddess pose. So feet are turned out a little bit. You can put your hands gently and lightly on your legs or in the center of your body somewhere or up overhead. Your path is your path. You can be kind of high. You can be very low. You can be somewhere in the middle. Try to prevent yourself from leaning on your legs and leaning forward. Come up and be light. If your hands are on your legs, they're just very light. Knit your ribs in, feel your core support you. Ground into the four corners of your feet. Imagine that block between your shins. Give that energy up through your pelvic floor, through to the crown of your head. Spin the jarlets of your feet, so press down through the four corners and drag your feet so that your toes turn out toward the wall behind you. All right, come up to stand. Straighten your legs. Pass through to a dog pose. You're going to turn sideways on your mat and lengthen through your spine again. Let your legs become neutral. You might even want to internally rotate your thighs, pigeon toe yourself. That might feel better, or neutral. Find your breath. Okay, we're going to pass through to a plank. Hold yourself steady, integrating into the core. And then lower yourself down to the ground. This time we'll take super person pose, but arms overhead. Thumbs up. Your legs can be wide or a little closer, your choice. Take a deep breath in and lift everything off the ground. Let your breath rock you. And then relax. Put your hands under your head, pick up your feet, and windshield wiper your knees. And you can even take a pause if you want with your feet dropped over and let that internal rotation of the one leg happen. And then come back and drop over to the other side. Maybe pause there for a moment. Come back. Put your feet on the ground. Come up onto all fours. Wiggle your spine. Maybe find your way back to child's pose and just let the legs compress for a moment. Your arms can be overhead or down at your sides. All right, let's find our way back
up through dog pose, or if you're skipping some dog poses, we're just going to come to stand. So dog pose, have a breath, and then walk your feet forward, or just come to stand. And so as you find your way upright, let's pause here for a moment and just feel Tadasana. Feel how alive your legs are. Feel into the groundedness. We're going to do just a couple of balance postures so you can get closer to a wall if you know you need the wall for some balance. We're going to first come into tree pose. So you can place your foot high or low, or even your toes still touching the ground. So find the way for your tree pose for today. And if you're using the wall, you can place one hand on the wall. Try your best not to stick the hip out. Hug your hip in. Let your hip and your foot find each other. Feel the heart open up. And maybe your arms come up overhead. Maybe they don't. And so you find your posture today. Breathing deeply. Focus your gaze. You're ready. You can come out of the pose and take time in between to feel that grounding of your feet, to let your body sense the enjoyment of 2 feet on the ground. Maybe you come up onto your toes and rock onto your heels, just waking up some of those balancing muscles in your calves and feet. And then ground into your left foot, and we'll try the second side. So remember, your toes can be right down on the ground. Your foot can just be a little bit off the ground. Your foot can be on your calf somewhere. Try not to have your heel right at your inner knee. So anywhere but there. You can also have your foot high. Now, it doesn't matter. So, sometimes, we often see the pose with the foot high up here, right? Where this is kind of like the quintessential pose. But sometimes I like to put my foot a little lower. It changes what's happening in your hip. It changes the effort. It can make balance. I don't know. I still feel like the balance is a challenge no matter what you're doing with your leg. So if you always do it in the same way, try a different way. Okay? Try not to let your hip stick out. Draw your hip in. Find your breathing. Arms can come up if you want them to. Feel the heart open. Nice soft gaze somewhere. Unlock your toes. Let your whole foot find the ground instead of gripping. And then you can release your foot to the ground when you feel ready. And again, just feel your 2 feet on the ground. You can shake your legs if you want. You can bounce a little bit. You can wiggle a little bit. So just see what's needed in the body to release. Find a big full breath here. Now a little bit deeper of a hip pose. So we're going to ground into your right foot, figure 4. So you can hold on to a wall or support if you need it. You're going to cross your left foot on top of your right knee and come like a chair. So extending through your spine, you can have your hands at your heart, or you can reach your arms overhead. Wide sit bone, draw both femur bones way back. Be active through your foot here in the air. Pull your pinky toe side of your foot back toward your knee. Feel the spreading of your toes. Breathing well. You can even lean forward a little bit if you want more stretch, but make sure you're not rounding the spine. Do this with a nice long spine. And then we're going to come up, come out of the pose and put 2 feet on the ground. You can also rest here for a moment and feel the grounding of your feet. You can also do this pose instead of holding on to a wall. You can put your buttocks against a wall so that you can find the pose with just a little bit of support against your backside if you need some balance help. That's another way to seek some balance support. All right, let's move into the second side. So we're gonna stand on our left foot. We're gonna take our right foot on top of our left knee, draw down into the posture. So try not to stick your hip out. Try not to turn your torso. See if you can face forward. Draw both knees into the hips, wide sit bones. Extending through your spine. Arms can be up overhead. Hands can be at your heart. Hands can be out to the sides. Wherever you feel the best support for balance and breath. Try not to curl your spine. See if you can feel that open heart and the long spine. Breathing deeply. And if you want to, you can bring your hands down to the ground, or you can bring your palms together and rest your forearms on your leg. So find the pathway that works for your body. And then we'll come out of the pose. How's your breath? Okay, so if you lost it, rediscover it again now. Feel that grounding of your feet. Breathing deeply. Let's pass through a vinyasa just to kind of find that sense of neutrality in the body again. Inhale, arms coming up. Exhale, float forward. Relax your head. Find a halfway lift. Spine grows. Melt and fold. Step back. Finding dog pose again. That long spine. Breathing well. Come forward into a plank. Finding breath. Lower yourself down. Choose any back bend that you want, but feel that whatever you're doing is very good for your pelvis. So you want to have the muscles across your pelvis hug onto the sacrum. So you feel that balancing of the sacrum after the one-legged postures. Melt and relax. Let's come into child's pose and let the legs relax. You can bring your knees together or apart, your choice. Breathing well. Okay, I think we're very warmed up for this, but I'm going to give you plan A, plan B, plan C. Okay, so plan A is going to be fire log pose. Plan B is pigeon pose. Plan C is reverse pigeon pose. So whatever you think is best for your body. I'm going to sit on the edge of a blanket for fire log. Okay. So I think you all know pigeon pose and reverse pigeon pose, so I won't cue that at all. But if you're in fire log, we're going to start with, let's start with the right leg. Right leg on top of your left leg. And we're going to stack your shins like two logs in a fire. Now, if you find yourself kind of like this and you're rounded in your spine and this is not going very far or well for you, bring your hands behind you. Take your left leg and put it on the floor. So we're kind of in a similar pose to what we just did in that figure 4 standing balance pose. The other thing you can do is support. So if you need some blocks here or there for underneath your legs, you can use blocks. Okay. So stack as best as you can and pay attention to the wrinkles of your inner right ankle. So if you can see the bottom of your foot, you want to stretch more. So stretch out through the ball of your big toe and your inner heel. So you're erasing those inner ankle wrinkles as best as you can. Pull your pinky toe side of that right foot up toward your right knee. Feel the length of your spine. Now, it might be just enough to just be here. If you have a little more to offer the posture, you can take your hands on the soles of your feet, lengthen through your spine, give a good pressure. So push your feet and hands into each other, a little PNF stretching. So push, 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 and then relax. And by push, I mean, like 20 to 30% of your effort, not, you don't want to give it everything you've got, but you can do a few rounds of that, pushing hands and feet into each other, and then melt that and stretch your spine longer forward. For some people, bringing your hands behind you is definitely the best way to go. So just find what's available for you. If you're in pigeon pose, support your head, rest your spine, elongate. If you're in reverse pigeon pose, make sure your hips are square and your shoulders and head are relaxed. Let's go ahead and come out of there. We're going to take our legs straight if you're in this pose, and just rock all the way from your femur bones, rock left and right. If you're in pigeon pose, switch sides. If you're in reverse pigeon pose, put your other foot on top of your knee. And now we'll switch. So our left leg is going to go on top of our right leg. You can be on the blanket and maybe lift yourself up and draw your femur bones back just a little bit so that you have that sense of balance across the pelvis and a little slight anterior tilt. Check in with the ankle wrinkles. Make sure your foot is stretching, big toe, inner heel lengthening away from the outside edge of your pinky toe side, moving toward your knee. Feel the lift of your spine. Perhaps your hands are behind you. Perhaps your right leg is on the floor, like the figure 4. So just do the posture that's available. And never assume the two sides are the same. Never assume that what you could do yesterday is what is happening today. How is your breath? Okay, if you're doing that PNF stretch, press your hands and feet into each other, and then release and lengthen your heart. Repeat it. You are ready. There's no rush. When you feel ready to release from this pose, be very slow. And we're going to all find our way onto our back. Stretching out, taking your time. All right, take your legs just a little bit wider than your hips. And once you're here, do the same we did before, where we're just rocking internal and external rotation all the way from the femur bones. Pick up your feet. Take your feet hip width apart, knees are bent. We're going to drop our knees over to the left and just enjoy that internal rotation of the right leg. If you need a block underneath your knees, you can do that. If you want to pick up your left foot and put it to the outside of the right knee, you can do that. So just allow that right leg to enjoy some internal rotation. Melt your shoulders, melt your head. Find your breath. Back up. Feet on the ground. Drop your knees over to the right and enjoy a little bit of that internal rotation of your left leg now. You can pick up your right foot and put it to the outside of the left knee. You can keep your feet on the ground. You can support with blocks if you need to. Enjoy the internal rotation of that left leg. Big breaths, heavy shoulders, heavy head. Relax, come back to neutral. Bring your knees into your chest. Let your back soften and relax here. Nice and neutral. We're going to roll over onto our right side. So put underneath your head with a block if you need it. We're going to grab the top of your left ankle and stretch your quad here. Tailbone descends, finding breath. Back to neutral. Roll over to the other side, take your block with you, bend your knees. Right hand on right ankle, stretch that right knee away from your chest, opening up your quad. Descend the tail so that you have a stable pelvis to do this quad stretch. Breathing deeply. Then come back. Knees to your chest, maybe a happy baby, whatever it is you feel like you need to get your pelvis neutral. And then we'll find Shavasana. All right, so as you lie down, again, make sure you're warm. Always check in with yourself in Shavasana. Make sure that you're comfortable, that your body feels supported, that you feel warm. Some full deep breaths. Start to feel as though your body can really melt into the ground, making imprints in the sand. Heavy head. Relax your limbs. Slowly start to bring your awareness. Don't move yet. Just feel into that deep surrender, but consciously. Bring yourself into the awareness of your body dropping, your breath coming deeply. And let's find a little bit of movement here or there. Whatever feels good in your body. Actually finding your way over onto your side. Coming up to sit as you're comfortable.
you have your hands together at your heart, let's just take a moment to center, to breathe, to offer the merits of our practice. Send your energy to another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.